Hi, I'm Molly, and I just turned 32. I work in the IT industry, earning a steady income by working remotely from home. I work full-time, 5 days a week, and my monthly salary is around $2,700. I'm generally satisfied with my lifestyle and income, but there's a deeper motivation driving me to work so hard. The biggest reason is my dream of owning a newly built home. I grew up in an old house in the countryside, and its decay became a source of insecurity for me. For years, I dreamed of having a brand new home, one I could call my own. The turning point in making that dream a reality came when I met Ethan, a wonderful person who was introduced to me by a friend. He shared my vision of a new house, especially a single-family home with a garden. Living in a house we designed and built ourselves sounds amazing, Ethan said. I want to chase that dream with you. I was relieved and filled with gratitude to hear that. After dating for a short time, we got engaged 6 months later. We combined our savings, secured a down payment, and started the process of building our dream home. From choosing the right builder and deciding on the design, to applying for a loan and overseeing the construction, it was a challenging but rewarding year. Eventually, we achieved our goal, and the newly built house we had dreamed of for so long was ours. The house became a place where our memories and hopes lived, and every day felt like a celebration of our hard work. But just as we settled into our new home, an unexpected issue arose. The house was built near Ethan's parents, and as a result, they started visiting us frequently, often without notice. One day, while I was relaxing with a cup of coffee and working, the doorbell rang. I checked the intercom and heard Ethan's mom's voice. "Hello, Molly. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by. Your new house is really something. The fresh air and the new house smell is wonderful." Behind her, I saw 6 children, ranging in age from a 3-year-old toddler to a 9-year-old elementary school student. There were 4 boys and 2 girls. "These are the children of our eldest and second daughters," Ethan's mom explained. "We've been taking care of them, but something urgent came up, and we can't look after them anymore. Molly, I know it's a lot to ask, but could you take care of them for a bit? Could you handle lunch and bath time for them, too?" I was taken aback. This was so sudden. I had unfinished work to do, food stocked only for myself, and an important meeting in the afternoon. The thought of suddenly caring for so many people felt overwhelming. I quickly rescheduled my work, took a deep breath, and asked my in-laws if they could help with getting meals and snacks for the kids, but they declined, saying they'd been running around all day and were too exhausted. In the end, I had to cover the cost of everything myself and handle the cooking. After dinner, my in-laws and their grandchildren left quickly. When Ethan got home, I filled him in on the day's events and shared my frustrations. It's just unimaginable to have so many people show up without any notice. I couldn't get any work done, and now I'm completely exhausted. He tried to reassure me. "Calm down. It's not a big deal. It's just a minor incident." How can you say that? It's hard to stay calm when my work could have been disrupted at such a crucial time. The house is a mess, and I had to handle everything on my own. Ethan's response was calm. "Though you helped my sister and parents, didn't you? Isn't that what matters? Your work turned out fine, and we can always clean up the house together." I was frustrated, though, because I wanted him to truly understand my feelings. I'm happy to support everyone as family care about our family. More than anyone, but I can be flexible all the time, especially when it comes to work. There are limits to what I can do. It would help if you could let me know earlier when you need my support. Ethan seemed to brush it off. "I get it, but things like this might happen again. Maybe we should just stock up on snacks and drinks for next time." That wasn't the response I was hoping for. Deep down, I wanted Ethan to see how his family's actions affected me, and to talk to them about giving us a heads up in advance, but that didn't happen, and I started to feel like his attitude towards me was growing colder. 2 weeks later, my in-laws showed up at our door again, this time, with all 6 grandchildren in tow. "Thanks for all your hard work, Mommy. We wanted to drop by again today. Actually, both of our daughters have plans, and we were hoping Zoo could help with the kids' bath and dinner, like last time." I was caught off guard. This is really sudden. I had plans for today. Once again, I had to drop everything and deal with the situation. Anger began to boil inside me as I thought, do they ever consider how busy I am with work? I've been so focused on catching up on my tasks, and now I was faced with the daunting task of trying to make up for lost time, something I really wanted to avoid. It was hard not to feel completely frustrated with the whole situation. I had carefully planned my day, but everything was thrown off course. The 6 kids ran wild through the house, darting from the living room to the bedroom and kitchen, making a constant racket. It felt like my home had turned into a playground for them. When I raised my voice, asking them to calm down, they ran straight to my mother-in-law and started complaining about me. They were acting so spoiled, and my mother-in-law just indulged them. "Auntie, we don't like this," one of them said. "Auntie, you're mad. You won't play with this." My mother-in-law intervened. "Molly, you shouldn't get so angry. It's just childlike behavior. An adult should be more composed. People without children wouldn't understand. Maybe your narrow-mindedness is affecting your family planning with Ethan. You should reflect on it." I could barely contain my frustration. Her words were so illogical and patronizing. Inside, I was seething, but I tried to stay calm on the outside. By the end of the day, my house was even messier than before. It felt like all the time and effort I had put into tidying up had been for nothing. Ethan came in, looking tired, but so was I. "What happened here? Please clean this mess up quickly." "Why are you asking me? The in-laws and their 6 grandchildren just left. I've been juggling everything, and I'm exhausted." I felt drained, both physically and emotionally. The kitchen, where I was supposed to be preparing dinner, hadn't seen any progress. "Can't you be a bit more attentive? We're married. I think you could at least help with this." He shot back. "Just because we're married doesn't mean you can't demand anything. I didn't marry you just to be a housekeeper or to look after kids." I was stunned. "Don't get mad. No need to raise your voice. We don't even have kids yet. But I'm still contributing to the family. It would be nice if you showed some appreciation for that." Ethan, with his usual aloof demeanor, replied, "Isn't that what married women typically do? I'd appreciate it if you'd just cooperate without complaining." His indifference done, and it was clear he wasn't interested in continuing the conversation. Without even glancing at the mess in the room, he headed straight to his own. I had never seen Ethan behave so coldly before. I wished, even just a little, that he could understand the burdens and emotions I was carrying as his wife. With each passing day, I felt my heart drifting further away from him. The change was subtle at first but became more noticeable as time went on. After dinner one evening, Ethan quickly took a bath without a word and rushed to his room. It had become a not too familiar routine. Even our bedtimes were no longer in sync, and the closeness we once shared seemed like a distant memory. Looking at the mess the kids had left behind, I began to clean. Despite my exhaustion, as I wiped away the crumbs and scattered toys, tears fell from my eyes. I was cleaning up after the chaos they had caused in our new home, and in that moment, the coldness between Ethan and me felt unbearable. This was not the life I had imagined when we first got married. Wiping my tears away, I took a moment to assess the situation. The stress from work, the discord at home, it all felt overwhelming. If left unchecked, it seemed like our daily life might crumble. I suspected there was a reason behind Ethan's sudden change in behavior, and to understand it, I considered consulting an expert. If things didn't improve, I might even request a detailed investigation, focusing on my own feelings and thoughts. Gradually, I felt a sense of calm returning to my troubled heart. Deep down, I resolved to confront my in-laws about their visits and their demands, and to have a serious conversation with Ethan about the state of our relationship. 3 weeks later, on a clear morning, my in-laws and their cheerful grandchildren showed up at our door again. The doorbell rang, followed by the sound of their excited voices and laughter. It was as if a small amusement park had appeared outside our house. "Molly, you can't hear me, right? It's hot. Can you prepare some tea for us? We're here again." "Molly, the kids can't seem to stay still outside. Please get ready for dinner and a bath." I pressed the intercom button, asking seriously, "Excuse me, but who are you two?" There was a brief silence, followed by a surprised laugh. What's so funny? Who are we? Stop kidding around. Molly, did you forget about us? Open the door. I couldn't help but feel frustrated. Sorry, but I can't just let anyone in without knowing who it is. Who are you to say that about us? We're your in-laws. Why would you say something like that? Their voices rang out from the other side of the door, but I remained calm, my mind already made up. Ethan and I had discussed this countless times, and my decision to end our marriage was not made lightly. I see no reason to continue our relationship with you, I replied firmly. Please understand and refrain from visiting in the future. While they raised their voices outside, I stayed focused on my work, ignoring the noise. Eventually, the voices faded, and after about 30 minutes, it seemed they had left. Later that night, Ethan came home much later than usual. His stiff posture and the grim look on his face suggested he'd had a tense conversation with his family. He looked at me with a mixture of confusion and anger. Why did you do that? You knew my parents and nieces were coming over. Why didn't you let them in? And what's this about divorce? Are you serious? I'm serious, I said, my voice steady. I've thought long and hard about this. Our lifestyles and values don't align, and I can't have you or your family disrupting my life any longer. I calmly spread out the incriminating photos I had collected on the table. Ethan's face drained of color as he took in the images. There he was, walking downtown, hand in hand with a woman I didn't recognize, both of them smiling, carefree. The next set of photos showed them entering an upscale hotel and emerging hours later, still smiling. Recently, I felt uneasy about your late nights and strange behavior, so I hired a private investigator. I continued, watching his reaction. These photos are the result. Now do you understand why I'm considering divorce? Do you get how I feel? Ethan's face twisted with shock and fear. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Let's not drag this out. I've already made up my mind. I had come prepared. I placed the divorce papers on the table, already filled out in detail. Sign here, I said, my voice firm. If you refuse, I'm ready to take legal action immediately. Molly, please, reconsider, he pleaded, his voice cracked with a mix of desperation and regret. When I didn't budge, Ethan hesitated for a moment before slowly signing the papers. If this is what will satisfy you, he said, his voice resigned, I'll accept the divorce, but there's one thing I need to say. I looked up at him, feeling my heart harden. What is it? It's about the house. I'm attached to this place, and I have no intention of giving it up. You can rest assured about that, I said, my voice steady. But as for the rest of it, I no longer find meaning in staying here. However, I expect proper compensation from you and the woman you cheated with. Keep that in mind. With those words, I returned to my room and resumed packing for the new chapter of my life. The next morning, I went to City Hall and began the divorce process. The procedure went smoothly, and soon, I was free to start over. A few weeks later, I signed a lease for a modest apartment near downtown. Using the alimony from Ethan and his associates, financially, I was secure and didn't face any struggles. Then, one day, I received a sudden message from Ethan. His tone was frantic, almost pleading. I'm living with my parents now, and things are really tight. Weren't you supposed to have sold your family home? I did sell it, but my savings have been stretched thin with living expenses and other payments. Can you help out at all? I paused, considering his situation. His parents were on pensions, and I knew the sale price of the family home hadn't been very high. Plus, he still owed me alimony, which had likely drained his savings. While we were married, both our incomes had gone into a joint account, but now it was just Ethan's salary. I could imagine how hard it was for him to cover the mortgage, car loan, and other expenses. For the house loan, why not talk to the bank about adjusting your monthly repayments and pay more during the bonus season? I suggested. Have you spoken to them about it? That might work, but I'm not sure how to approach them or what the new repayments should be. Make those decisions on your own, I replied, frustrated with his dependence. We're divorced now, Ethan. You need to stand on your own 2 feet. Don't rely on me anymore. My tone was sharp, and he must have sensed the change in my emotions because, after that, I didn't hear from him again. A year passed in silence. Exactly 1 year after our divorce, I received a message from Ethan. He wanted to meet at a popular cafe in the city. On the day of our meeting, I arrived at the cafe and skimmed the crowd. When I saw him, I was struck by how different he looked. Gone was the healthy, confident Ethan I remember. Had appeared thinner, his face shadowed by some invisible burden. I had no choice but to sell the house, he began, his voice weary. It was too much to maintain on my own. I see, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. How much did you sell it for? Probably less than you'd think, he said with a sigh. The place was a mess, especially with my nieces and nephews coming over all the time. I imagine it lost its charm after we left. I nodded, picturing the house in disrepair. It made sense. Constant wear and tear from the kids would have taken a toll, and extensive renovations would have been expensive, so selling it for a higher price was unlikely. I also had to stop letting the kids visit, he continued. That caused a rift with my sisters, and my father's health has been declining now in a care facility. Are you living with your mother-in-law now? I asked. No, I found an affordable apartment in a quiet part of the city. My mom moved in with me, and she's trying to help by working part-time for a cleaning company. I couldn't help but admire his mother's determination. Starting over at her age couldn't have been easy, especially after so many years as a homemaker. Molly, I'm really sorry for everything. I know it's hard to ask this, but can't we reconsider our relationship? I promise I'll do better this time. I looked at him, my heart hardening with each word he spoke. I'm sorry, Ethan. My life is on a new path now. I can't go back. Our chapter is closed. Please, don't contact me again. This is the last time we'll talk. I stood up, paid the bill, and walked out of the cafe. David, who had been quietly watching me, didn't follow. I kept my head held high, my decision firm. As I walked away, I received some unexpected news. The land where my family's old house stood had been purchased by a major company for a large-scale factory project. The price was much higher than we had anticipated, and despite the house's deterioration, the land had immense value. This turn of events brought a mixture of surprise and relief. Thanks to this sale, my family would be set financially, and we could finally build the house we had always dreamed of. I was already planning with my parents, imagining all the possibilities for the new home. With the funds secured, I could start fresh. I looked forward to designing our future together and hoped to find a new partner to share my life with. For the first time in a long time, I felt a deep sense of peace and optimism about the road ahead.